Okay, so boom. You finally realize the power of emails and owning your own data. So you create a newsletter and get a landing page fired up. You send out your first email and bloop, it's in the promotions folder. Unless you're an e-commerce company, I'm sorry to tell you, but the promotion folder is not going to help you. This is why you should get ConvertKit. ConvertKit specializes in keeping your email in the primary folder so you can increase your open rates and communicate with your audience. They also have beautifully designed landing pages and squeeze pages for you to capture more emails. I personally love the fact that they have good support. Support from you is everything. If I have a problem, I need to know I can get someone on the line or have a video that answers all of my questions. Hustlers don't give up. They say, yo, let me figure this out. I figured it out with ConvertKit. Now let's start the show.
I really budgeted my way to millionaire. Like the budget, I would say, really made me a millionaire because having that insight into my money, for one, just let me know what I was actually doing with the money. So then I could kind of get control around that. And then it also helped me to like shape some of my behavior so that I could have that surplus to do things with, like eliminate debt and build my emergency fund and invest. So that spending plan is like the key to everything.
Hold on. So what happened, bro? Talk to us. But what happened when your mom found out that you're interviewing Jay-Z? Before we even get started with the pod, tell us right now.
Bro, like honestly, like the whole Jay-Z debacle, the whole thing about us having Jay-Z it just took everyone by storm, right? So my mom didn't say anything to me because I think she found out later on it was a prank. It was like an April Fool's joke. But when I got here to Sarnia, right, like first thing everyone was talking about, like Carlton was just like, yo, you legit got me with that Jay-Z prank. You legit, cause Carlton was texting me heavy. So my mom in her auntie group chat on WhatsApp, all the moms all in the same group chat, whatever. My auntie Rose, like she's on Facebook, she's Facebook friends with me. So she sees I have Jay-Z. So what made it even believable is Keturah, my sister. You saw this too, right? She had a long ass post like how proud she was of us of having Jay-Z. So that even added fuel to the fire to it. So even my sister saw like the clip you put of Jay-Z, you mashed it up with like, what was your idea behind the monogram brand, right? And Keturah was just like, there's no way these guys are like messing this up, because I think she saw us as just like, there's no way these guys, like she rates us so hard that it's not within our scope to get Jay-Z. That's how she's seeing it. And that clip just made it even more believable. So my auntie saw that, Keturah saw that. Now they're adding fire to my mom's group chat. Now like my mom's just thinking like, oh my god, my son's got Jay-Z, you know, he's made it, his podcast is about to blow up. So as soon as I get to the crib here in Sarnia, you know, we drive from Toronto down to Sarnia, my auntie Rose goes like, Owen, I cannot believe you legit had me with that Jay-Z thing. You know, I was telling everybody in Kenya that you got Jay-Z on the podcast, and na. And Keturah's here posting it on Facebook, and then my mom's just like, Bob, you got me like that. I was here telling aunties and everybody back home that you got Jay-Z and it's April Fool's Day. And then she just starts laughing hard, like she's just like, yo, you know what? Like she's just like, you're manifesting it. Like this means like you will get Jay-Z on soon. The fact that we all believed you could have done it means that it is possible that you will get him. So bro, it was just like everyone was going crazy. Everybody believed us, and you know, it kind of hurt me too. And I think we also kind of share the same sentiment because everybody was so eager to do it. I checked the YouTube video, had like close to 300 views now because everybody was anticipating Jay on the podcast. But hey man, it's great. I mean, it's great marketing at the end of the day, but like I just felt kind of sad that we disappointed people a little bit.
I felt horrible. I felt actually horrible after doing it. I was like, oh man. And I think we just freestyled it low key. We just said, hey, what about this as an idea? This as a prank to, you know, have fun with people. And yeah, it went way farther than I thought. You know, my girlfriend's mom was getting calls. You know,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, shout out to my boy. He was posting it. Then he told his mom. Then his mom called my girl. and called her mom and was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. So yeah, it was intense. It was intense. It got close to home real quick. I was talking, shout out to Dennis.
Dennis, bro. Oh my
Shout out
God.
to Dennis. I was talking to Dennis about something else, about getting his insight on the podcast. And this is, it's chopping it up. And in mid-conversation, he's like, yo, that's cap. And stops talking to me. And hasn't said the word since. I think he was legit hurt. Like, he was legit like, how could you do this to me? So Dennis, shout out to you, man. But yeah, it was an interesting prank. Honestly, looking back,
it's festive, bro.
It's festive. It was fun. I know people were mad. Looking back, I was like, man, would I have done that again? I don't know. You know what I was thinking could have been.
What do you have done different?
This is what I've done differently. I would have done us breaking up. You know what I'm saying? I think that could have been an even better prank.
Is over.
Yeah, the podcast is over. And it would have been put something cryptic like, you should know your worth. Podcast is done. You know what I'm saying? Or something stupid like that. Like
Joe Budden, Rory and Mal type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then say, find out what happened on the next podcast episode, something like that. Or, make something dramatic. People love drama. People love, fights.
People love the drama, bro. They love the juice, bro. They love seeing good things go down, bro.
Yeah.
What I've done different, I think I mentioned it, is I would have done Drake instead of Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think because Jay-Z, he's not very social on social. He's not like, he doesn't have an Instagram account. His Twitter is used like sparingly. But Drake, he has IG. He uses it religiously. And I think if we had made a clip of the way we did Jay with the Monogram brand, we could have asked him something about his new album, Loverboy. I don't know if there's any interview he's done, but we can go back to the archives and create something that would have made like a good interview. I think he would have appreciated the creativity. Mm-hmm. And from then on, he might have been like, you know what, guys, let me hop on for half hour and chop it up with you guys. And, that's how I think it would have gone, right? And he would have reposted it. People would have come back to 24/7 Hustler and follow us, support the local Toronto guys. Mm-hmm. It would have been a blessing, bro.
I do not think that Drake would have come on the podcast.
You don't think Drake would post it?
No.
But the fact that we have a shot, that's what I want. I think with Jay, we did not have a shot at all.
At all. Not yet.
Not that one, but the 1% chance that Drake sees that and reposts it, that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Honestly, that would be hilarious. Actually, there was a Drake April Fool's Day joke though. Young Money dropped like an image of the owl, a crown, and a goat to be like, and had like a top 3 symbol on top of it to say that this is gonna be a new album that would drop between Drake, Lil Wayne, and Nicki Minaj. That would have been insane to see, an album between the 3 of them. But yeah, man. And so shout out to everybody who came through and wished me, well wishes and told me how proud they were of me. I appreciate it. I'm proud of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, it felt good. It felt bad at the same time to know who was there, and see people come out the woodworks as well. Because there's a lot of people that were just like there, like you could tell we're creeping, but never really saying nothing, never posting nothing. They finally came out, so it was good to actually see them finally. So, yeah, man.
People are always watching, bro.
Always watching.
Always watching. Like people who I never thought cared about the podcast or who even. I didn't even think the podcast was in their radar. They're never on social media. I'm like, yo, bro, I haven't spoken to you in a year, but as soon as you hear Jay-Z's on the freaking pod, is that when you're hitting me up, bro? I was like, wow, Mm-hmm. So it just told me, man, people don't really care about what you do until you're co-signed by somebody. And it's a story about every Toronto rapper and every creative. It's like, man, you've seen us. I've seen this with many musicians, bro, no one really cared about them until the Americans co-sign them. That's the thing with us Toronto people. It's just until an American label co-signs you, same thing happened with Drake. I don't know about The Weeknd, but I'm not going to comment on it, but I know Drake, the same thing. He was doing his thing here in the city and then got the co-sign, and then I was like, oh, we Drake is us. Drake is one of ours, right? It's every Toronto, every ball player who goes to the States and makes it big. It's just like...
Yep. For Drake, I think it was Trey Songz first. We weren't taking him seriously until Trey Songz took him seriously. Then the Lil Wayne took him seriously. And oh, it's 2 for 2 now? Oh, we gotta take him seriously, So, yeah, most definitely. It's an unfortunate reality that, we don't take each other seriously until Americans take us seriously. It's so true. And how can we stop that? You know, like, people just don't want to support anybody till, you know, I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. Until they get a Juno too. That's like the other thing. A Juno is like the other thing that kind of solidifies.
Why is it even being taken seriously like that anymore?
A Juno?
A Juno. Is it even as big?
For Canadians, I think it is. You know, because let me put it like this: if I go into a Bell Media property and it's like, yo, I'm an artist, yo, I'm a Juno award-winning artist, you get taken differently. You know, it's definitely something on your belt to mark in your career to say that I have accomplished something, without a doubt. If you're going to, because the thing is, a lot of companies work in geographies, you know. Adidas has Adidas Canada. Microsoft has Microsoft Canada, you know. So in order to get a lot of business done, you need specific geo, you know, like relevant things to make sure that you're actually qualified. So something like that is definitely worth it to have on your bio and to celebrate. I 100% think so. It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Totally makes sense, bro. Yeah. And I think it's also like an inferiority complex to Americans.
Yeah,
right.
Unfortunately,
we feel like, you know, they're the culture movers, though. Let's be real. Like, they have the sports, all the major leagues are there, all the best talented rappers and whatever. Like, they have the cream of the crop. So we're like a pipeline of talent, but we haven't established our own melting pot. But I think now, like Drake, Weeknd, Jazz Cartier, like, we're seeing all these guys emerge and like we're forming our own like rap Toronto culture, music culture, which like next 20 years it's gonna have its own like Americanness, the way we idolize the Americans, right? It's just a matter of time, right? But we need guys like Drake and all these guys who even like you know, what's his name?
Tory Lanez?
Cardinal
Official, bro.
Like,
how you gonna forget Condor, dog? You can't forget Cardinal Official, dog. You can't. Yo, shout out to Cardinal, bro. Nah, you don't be forgetting Cardinal, dog. Oh man,
no, you just lost. The thing was in my tongue, bro.
Oh my jeez.
I lost some Toronto points.
You lost
guys,
some big Toronto points, dog.
I need to redeem myself.
Shout out Cardinal. Chandrine. That's a new thing. Shout out to Cardinal.
But dog, those are the pioneers, bro. Those are the pioneers, like the birth, like that allowed Drake to flourish, gave him the confidence to go. So it's just, bro, it's gonna take some time, but we're making our way there.
Exactly. Yeah.
You get me?
1,000%. Shout out Cardinal. Shout out Choclair. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Jelly. You know. Anyways, though, let's get into business tip of the week. You know what I'm saying? So mine is super short. You know, actually, before we get into it, we've gotten a lot of feedback on our podcast. You know,
yes, and deep dive.
Yeah. So we gotta make some edits, man. So maybe we should prepare everybody. Just like let them know that, you know, we've gotten some feedback. So over the next maybe few weeks, we might see some changes to the podcast. So be ready for those changes when they come, and we'll keep y'all, you know, in tune and you know, aligned with everything going on. So yeah, now let's hop into it. So today, I actually want to quickly talk about, you know, emails. So right now, with everything going on with the lockdown, emails have become super, super important. And I actually got a cold email that almost got my business, which is different. I never respond to cold emails, especially on LinkedIn. Someone reached out to me on LinkedIn and, you know, got like a whole meeting with me. And I was like, wow, like, this is a good outreach. And I wanted to talk about, one, outreaching on LinkedIn and cold, and two, talking through emails, and three, specific things to say. So real quick, when it comes to outreach, two ways you can outreach on LinkedIn or just outreach to cold emails is using two platforms. One, rocketreach.co, one thing we've used. That's how we reached out to the good folks over at Bel Air. And number two is apollo.io. Those were super helpful in actually getting to the contacts. So that's step one I want to mention. Whether you're driving or listening to this at home, remember Rocket Reach and Apollo, APOLLO.io. Those are two ways you can get emails. Number two, when emailing somebody for the first few times, it's always good to have a specific compliment. You know, whether you know this person or not, Having a specific compliment means that you pay attention to them and actually, respect them. So you're coming from an empathetic standpoint. So having a specific compliment, that's what the guy on LinkedIn did to me that really, made a difference between all the clutter in my LinkedIn folder, because I get emails for days. He listened to the podcast, he listened to the Mario Armstrong podcast, and had 3 takeaways that he got from the podcast. And said, yo, I really appreciated these 3 things. And I was like taken aback by that, So that's that. Moving forward. Next is having verbiage that puts you in boss status. Here's one thing. We actually posted on our Instagram this image of different, changes in your verbiage of emails, and it was one of the highest performing posts on our LinkedIn and on our Instagram. And I want to regurgitate some of those things because I can tell it was a lot of value for you guys. So I'm going to put up my phone right here real quick. All right, so when it comes to taking a while to dealing with somebody and you forgot to message them back, here's something you can say. Instead of saying, sorry for the delay, you can say, thanks for your patience. Instead of saying, I made a small error, oops, my bad, you can say, a nice catch, updated, thanks for letting me know, right? Another one is, you have an appointment link to get to. Instead of saying, hey, could I possibly leave early? Or can I get a rain check on this? You can say, hey, I'll need to leave at this time for XYZ. How about we reschedule? Things like that make a big difference in people's perception of you when it comes to communicating through email. So I just want to leave it at those few things. Let us know if that was of value to you. And that wraps up the business tip of the week. Short and simple. What you think, man?
100% true. So true. Like being in sales, that's the name of the game. Being intentional. And what that guy who reached out to you did such a great job. That is the research you do when you're, he wants to get in touch with you. So he knows, you being a marketer, you being a podcaster, you can make the assumption from the outside, you probably get 50 plus emails a day cold from many different businesses, many different individuals. So how do you stick out from the inbox, bro? Right? And this is the same thing with sales. When you're trying to reach out to a C-level director at a certain company, you got to do some research into the account, research into trending news that's coming out of that organization, and craft your messaging that's tailored to them. So it shows you did your research, you're worthy of responding to. And, people's time is precious. So it's even 15 minutes. They want to know, how did you earn my 15 minutes of your time? Did you earn, by doing research, knowing who I am and being specific and intentional what you want to talk to me about? All these things matter, especially in this digital world. People are really filtering out who really cares and etc. Remember, people want to feel special. People want to feel as if that they're important. And this is one of the things I learned from How to Win Friends and Influence People. Everyone likes feeling important. So make people feel important by doing that research before reaching out to them. And now we go into our next segment of the podcast, right? The Hustle Nation tip of the week, by me, Mr. Hustle Muscle. And, I was having a great conversation with my cousin Carlton yesterday, and I was talking to him about, the podcast and everything. And, he's a software engineer. He's working to become a world-class software engineer. And we're talking about, bro, what are some things that, have been going on in your life? He's just look, I had this opportunity with Microsoft. I was going through this rigorous interview process with Microsoft and, for an internship, now that I'm school's coming to a wrap, but I didn't get it. So he told me the one thing that he felt that resonated with him is patience. He's a young 21-year-old guy, and he felt this pressure to be really successful, be an engineer at 21, working for a company like Microsoft or Facebook or the Twitters of the world. And, right now we're in a world where attaining things fast and the time to have access to necessities have been split in half, right? We're exposed to so much media where we see other individuals achieve success relatively quick. We observe others become successful while they're young, and we feel as if we have to attain the same success in that time frame. So we're all running our own race at our own pace. No one can run your race other than you, and regardless of what speed you're going, you'll arrive at your destination. It may take you longer because you're running a further distance and someone else was shorter, but don't feel like you're a failure because you're not on track compared to your peers' timelines. their businesses might be making more money, and they're getting recognition, but it doesn't mean you won't attain the same thing either. Achieving success is a marathon, and your success has its own appointed hour. So stay the course and keep going. And you're already a success because you're on the progressive realization towards a worthy ideal. And that is the Hustle Nation tip of the week. Let's have a great week, guys. And let's start April strong.
Let's go. So, I didn't even intro April, We need to talk. Let's talk about April real quick. So,
yes. Proper segue. Start April with April.
Exactly. This month is Financial Literacy Month, so you have to get someone that's financially literate to talk to us. So April is a millionaire. We have someone who speaks to high-earning women to plan on becoming a millionaire using their income alone. She's been featured in Business Insider twice, and now she's on Hustle Over Everything. You can find her at April the Money Coach on Instagram, and of course you can find us at 24/7 Hustler on Instagram. So that's her in short. But man, I really love the simple tips she gave us. So I think it's going to be good high-level information for anybody. So I think it's going to be a good podcast, man. Anyways, yo.
Absolutely, man. And I just want to add one thing. A lot of people think becoming a millionaire is this impossible task, but she is a regular, I'm not saying she's a regular woman, but she's just an everyday person who's achieved $1 million net worth by consistent and prudent investing, which everybody can do. But one thing we have as young people is time. So investing in index funds, mutual funds, which she's going to talk about in this podcast, you can start on today, and in the next 15 to 20 years, you could achieve the same success of $1 million net worth. So you're going to learn about how to become a millionaire, and it's a guaranteed bulletproof way how to do it if you stay consistent and patient towards this process.
Exactly. And let's hop into the housekeeping items and into the podcast. All right, guys. See you inside.
All right. Peace.
Hey, what's up, guys? To support this show for free, here are some main options. If you're on Apple, make sure you rate and write a review of our podcast. This makes a huge difference and helps support the show. If you're on Spotify, follow us. If you're on Google Play, hit subscribe and auto-download so you'll be notified and have a fresh pod ready to go when we drop. Lastly, make sure you share the podcast on Instagram or whichever social platform you use and tag us. On Twitter, we're at 24/7 Hustlers. On Instagram, we're at 24/7 Hustler. And on Facebook, we're Hustle Over Everything. And now, guys, you gotta pay attention to this point. We just dropped a new newsletter. It's called The Underrated. It's a weekly newsletter that breaks down untold stories that highlight game-changing business strategies that shape our sports, music, and culture. It drops once a week on Mondays, early in the morning, to prep you for the week. So subscribe to that, and we'll see you in the pod. Hop right into it.
And just converse.
Exactly. April, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Man, I am feeling good. Fantastic.
I'm blessed.
Yes.
Blessed,
April Stewart, you have created an impressive brand for yourself. And
Thank you.
You've been featured on some amazing platforms, and you are a millionaire, which is amazing. And what I want to talk to you about today is this your journey creating this $1 million net worth that you have, and really just give our audience some real value, and give us value and how we can do that for ourselves, So firstly, if you were to introduce yourself to a stranger, what would you say? Give us a 30-second to a minute, intro.
So I'm April Stewart. My brand is April the Money Coach, and I help high-achieving women create their plans to become millionaires using their income alone. So what I do differs maybe from what a lot of other wealth building people do. Like they may focus on, trading stocks and real estate investments and flipping houses and all of that as real estate or as ways to build wealth. But I teach you how to build it using what you already have, using the income that you have, especially if you're a high income earner.
High income earners is a very interesting thing to bring up, right? So in your criteria, what defines a high income earner? What income earning bracket are you into for you to categorize that individual as a high income earner?
So I generally say six figures. But of course, that depends where you live and everything like that, the cost of living. But I think generally six-figure income earners. So I focus on helping you take your six-figure income and turn it into a seven-figure net worth.
That's amazing. And that's whole right, because in San Francisco, where we went about 2 years ago, six figures was not doing
Oh
it
yeah,
at
no,
all. At
right.
all.
That's like the standard income in San Fran. Like everybody's like a six-figure income earner because like the level of expenses and the cost of living is just
Right. You have to
extremely
be.
high. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's why they pay so high. And like a lot of companies raise a lot of money is because to cover these salaries. So you had a pretty like great story, like from what I read about you, right? You were also like a high income earner, making a lot of money, but you had nothing to show for it. And you had a couple experiences that happened that brought this out of you. So talk more about that journey that brought you to like who you are today, like as April Stewart.
So, growing up, I came from a low income family and I wasn't taught about money growing up. And I basically had developed a fear-based relationship with money. So to me, because of what I saw around me, I felt like money, wouldn't be there for me, to provide for me because it wasn't there for my family and people around me. So when I went into college, and then graduating from college, like I was ill-equipped to know what to do with money. So once I graduated from college, I was, I don't remember my first job, like making maybe around $50,000. But, it was good for someone young, just coming out of college. But I didn't know what to do with it. So as a result, I, kind of wasted it. I squandered my resources. And I found that with time, like as time went on, I just had nothing to show for my money, even though, and as my income increased over the years, but I still was living paycheck to paycheck. I had minimal savings and I wasn't really accumulating anything. And I was like, okay, there has to be a different way. There has to be something different that I'm supposed to be doing with my money. And that's what made me, research personal finance because there was really no one around me to teach it to me. So I had to, read books. At the time, podcasts weren't a thing. So like listen to interviews, listen to radio interviews and all of that and just teach it to myself.
That's amazing. One thing you said you had a fear-based mentality. What was that?
A fear-based relationship with money. Yeah, like money was just a scary thing to me. I didn't trust it. I didn't trust it to be there for me. I didn't trust it to be available for me because it wasn't available for my family, for the people around me. So I just I had this kind of icky relationship with money.
It's also interesting. You also mentioned that as you kept growing in your career, you kept making more money, but you had nothing to show for it, right? So what were you doing with your money that, when you look at your bank account, you realize like there's minimal savings in there. There's not a lot of money. You're going to that next paycheck. Speak more about those habits because I find that very relatable with a lot of individuals. And I think understanding like what you were doing will really like light a shed onto this problem a lot of people have with having trouble saving money.
So let me tell you, to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing with my money. And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves. Like they just know that it's gone. Like they don't know where it went. And I think that because I didn't have insight into my money, I wasn't at the time doing any budgeting or, spending. I didn't have a spending plan. I wasn't managing my money on a monthly basis. So it was just a black hole to me. Like I really didn't understand what I was doing with my money. But in terms of some of the activities I was doing, I mean, I was in my 20s, early 20s. So probably some vacation, traveling, maybe some clubbing, shopping, just all of those type of things. So all the social activities is probably where I largely was spending my money.
Probably got some credit card debt.
Exactly.
Yeah, I did. But I will say one thing about one thing that my upbringing, the way it scared me when money, quote unquote, was good was that also because I saw what was going on around me and it wasn't, favorable in terms of money, it made me really shy away from it. It made me not want to do those things. So I saw, family members taking out, loans and things like just overextended themselves. And I got advice from them to, hey, get a credit card. You needed to, quote unquote, build your credit and things like that. But I saw where they were. I saw how they were with the money. And I was like, I don't want to model that. So I kind of resisted the credit card thing. for a while. Like I didn't get one in college when I was kind of encouraged to get one. I think I eventually got one like maybe after I got my job and was working. So, but I didn't like the feeling of debt. I didn't like the feeling of seeing debt pile up. So I never really got exorbitant with my credit cards. I mean, I used them. I had a balance and everything, but it wasn't like really big like what you would see some people have. Like once it kind of started to creep up there, I would be like, okay, it's time to pay it off. So luckily I didn't have a whole lot of credit card debt.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because even like when I reflect back in university, my mom works at the bank here, TD Canada Trust, and she used to tell me like, don't even bother getting a credit card, don't get a credit card. And I'd be hearing the same advice from my friends, like, get a credit card. They'd be saying to me, get the credit card so you build your credit. And looking back now at the time in university and like everything that I went through, it was actually such a blessing in disguise that I didn't get the credit card, because I looked back at my spending habits at the time and I realized, man, I would have just crushed that credit. The debt I would have been in, it would have been way worse. So it's actually a lot smarter to wait till you graduate, till you're in a position where you're earning some money, and then you can start like with a security fund credit card, and then you can build on top of that. So that's really interesting that you mentioned that, like how you already had that foresight, and also find it interesting how you had the fear, like the mindset you had, but then you're smart to know that not to accumulate credit and not to take on bad debt. It's just like the juxtaposition of that is very interesting when you're speaking more on it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I was just driven by not following like what I saw around me, the things that I didn't want to become, didn't want to manifest in my life. I was like, okay, let me not do the things that those people are doing. So at least I had that going for me.
Man, I'm in the same boat. My mom used to tell me never to get a credit card ever, and not ever, I lie, but like not for like a good chunk of my life. And it took me a while to learn about credit and learning how to manage credit and build it up. Luckily, I'll always pay off every bill, so I'll develop a good credit naturally. But I didn't know what I was doing, until I got sat down, read things like Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I started, moving into a good financial mindset. Mm-hmm. What helped you with your financial mindset? Was there a book that helped you?
So I would say probably one of the most pivotal books I read early on was the Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And I know that, he's not our fave these days for a lot of the things he's been doing lately and saying lately, but
what? Hold on. He said sorry to interrupt you. What
no. So, yeah, I mean, he's a big Trump supporter. I think, who was it that recently passed? What's the guy's name? I'm drawing a blank, but he's the Fox guy. Was it Rush Limbaugh? I think. Yeah, that recently passed, and he was going on about how great he was and how America lost a great, and just all of that. So and then he was on, I think Fox News talking about the stimulus check here in America. That if you for the people to get it, if that is changing your life, if that's making a difference from you, then there's a lot going wrong in your life, and just all that. So he's out of control right now, but excuse me. But back then, reading that book was really what really, changed things for me, because it really helped me with my mindset. It challenged what I was taught was normal in terms of money. Like, for instance, debt. That, everyone, student loan debt is good debt. Mortgage, you'll just have that for the rest of your life. You'll pay your student loan for the rest of your life. You pay your mortgage for the rest of your life. And car loan, you'll have a car loan for the rest of your life. You just accept those things. And so reading that book just challenged my mindset, and it made me realize that, no, I don't have to have a student loan for the rest of my life. Like, I can pay that off, and I can pay off my car, and I can pay off my house early and all of that. So it really, after reading that, I just had my big debt elimination thing. So I had at the time around $25,000 in debt, and I just got really intense and paid it all off in 8 months. So that was about $3,000 or so per month I threw at it, because I was just like, I don't have to live with debt. There's other things I want to do with my money instead of paying it and payments and interest to others.
Let me ask you something, because our audience are entrepreneurs. A lot of people think it's hard. Let me invest some money into my business, into the thing that I want to grow, and then later pay off my student debt with the money I make. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think it really depends on the situation and how much student loan debt you have. But I mean, if it's a large amount, then yeah, that's going to take you some time to pay it off. So yeah, I mean, you probably will put that later in your plan, in your financial plan, and do some other things first. But if it's a small amount like what I had when I um, did my debt snowball, like I think I had about maybe $18,000 in student loan debt. And I knocked it out. Like I was like, there's no reason to keep it around. So I guess it just depends on the amount. But I don't really focus too much on interest rates per se, like because I think with me for paying off the debt, like what really helped me was having those wins, getting that momentum. So I focused on the amounts. Like if I had something that was $1,000, I paid that off and got that win, and then went on to the thing of $3,000, and then from there went on to the next thing. So focus on interest rates, especially if you're going to be intense about it and knock it out as quickly as possible. Then the interest rate could be negligible. I think just as how we are as humans, to just kind of have those wins or feel good moments, like I think you need to see some things actually come to closure.
That's a fact. Getting momentum is huge. This makes you feel charged up, like you're actually doing something. Even though you're in the same position in life, is making those small wins can really impact your mindset of, hey, I'm changing the debt that I'm in. I'm changing my trajectory in life.
Yeah.
And that momentum builds up too, right? Like once you have like a Excel sheet and you're paying like $500 a month, like 800 the next, and like as long as you're making those payments and you're seeing it go down, you start like motivating yourself, and then you start realizing like, hey, money's coming from this angle, let me put that towards my debt. And a lot of people don't realize, like, the more like you actually get in the motion of doing something, it actually starts building up even more and more and more, and you start realizing different opportunities come to you to pay that debt even faster. But like, I think the first thing you just got to do is start. But I also got to say one thing. I think people in our age group, we're very like experience driven, right? In like the millennial mindset is we're more about like we're not materialistic as people think we are. We're more of like, we'd rather like go experience something. I want to go travel. I want to go to this country. I want to go to that concert. Like, we live for experiences, and we act like the money isn't really going to be there. What I mean is like the money's like always gonna be there, and like let's just keep spending and spending because we're only alive once, we're only like living. So that's one thing like that battles our generation, right? Is just like we want to like experience all these amazing things, but then we tend to forget like the adult stuff. What we gotta take care of is that money. Yeah. Exactly, right? So it's like a little conundrum that we all have, like with like living and also getting our finances in order.
Right. And like you said, like, you quote unquote forget about the adulting. And like one of the main things people forget about is retirement. Like they think, that's not sexy. Like that's down the line. That's when you're, a grandma or whatever. But you have to prepare for that. And like the best time is right now when you're younger, just slowly at least, putting something away, because that's going to compound over time and like really grow for you. And you don't have to work as hard. Like your money will start to work. Compound interest will start to work for you. So I think that's, one area that so many people just don't pay attention to. They're not motivated to do, but it's like, fortunately, if you live, retirement is going to come. Like there is no choice, that's going to come. So you want to retire in dignity. You don't want to depend on the government or your children. So you have to plan for that.
Yeah. And also like the time is everything, because I remember like I'm thinking about it, like, man, it just feels like I was 20 years old like the other day, and like right now I'm 27, and we don't account for how fast time goes. And if you implement those like financial habits, as even if it's like $100 a month into like a mutual fund or in the States like a Roth IRA or something like that, right? It adds up, right? It starts building up, and by the time like you're 50, you have like a good amount of like savings which have compounded over time. And the more money you have, it compounds even more and more and more. So it's just the discipline I find that people don't have into settings like, hey, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to look at my finances, and this is what I can afford to do right now. And then like as I get older, I can add more. I think people think about, from my experience, like back in the day, I was thinking, oh, I got to invest like $1,000 a month. But I remember mom told me, it's just like, no, like, son, you don't have to do that. Just start with like $50 every paycheck. And I started doing that. And then I looked at the account. It's just like, wow, I've saved like $3,000 in the past like year and a half, just passively saving every paycheck.
Yeah.
And that adds up. These are financial habits that you can implement right away and, find yourself with like some good savings without even thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, that compound interest is amazing. And I think there's a quote from Einstein. People attribute quotes to people, so I don't know if it's a true quote or not. But there's a quote that I read that says, he said that like compound interest is the greatest invention, invented by man or something like that.
Yeah, I remember
But
that quote too.
yeah, it really is. Compound interest really is powerful. And like you said, you can just put a little away. And even if you're starting young and starting early, it really will grow over time. And I would say, even for me, I mean, yes, I've done well. My money has grown over time, of course, making me a millionaire. But like, I didn't start as early as I would have liked to. And I'm like, man, if I would have really started as early as I should have, like, imagine what it would be now. But I think I listened to actually bad advice from a disc jockey on the radio, like saying, you're young, like the stock market. He wasn't talking to me specifically. He was just talking. He was like, the stock market is a gamble, and, don't put your money in those retirement plans. Like, you need your money to live your life, to do the thing, take care of the things you need right now. So I was like, yeah, that's right. Like, I'm not putting my money in my retirement plan. And I was like, man, like, I wish I, started sooner instead of listening to like someone on the radio.
When did you start your journey?
Yeah, that's disgusting advice. Sorry, Alex.
It's okay. Well, when did you start your journey?
So I started, I don't remember exactly when I started taking like investing seriously. Like, so when I started to actually put it into my corporate 401k, I would say probably I graduated school in 2000, so maybe probably in the 2005 or so date range. But I started like my money transformation, like really paying off my debt and really changing the way I interacted with money. That was like in 2007, 2008. And, once I made that change, like I was able to really turbocharge what I was doing with money. And that's what really like helped me to begin to invest more and, pay off my debt, invest more, save more, and just really, kick that, what I was doing into turbocharge so that I could accumulate that, $1 million net worth.
Let's talk more about that, like the service that you do provide for women, because you are a millionaire, and it's so hard to believe for some people that they could be a millionaire. Like, the idea of becoming a millionaire is so far fetched, but you've done it just from your work, your diligent investments that you've made. Before we get to that, let's talk about the service you do provide for women, because that's what you do right now. How would you approach like a 6-figure income earner who's working at, let's say, KPMG or something like that? What is like the plan that you put them through that ensures that they're going to be a millionaire or have $1 million net worth in the next couple of years?
Mm-hmm. So we focus on the total financial foundation. So it's not, just one part, one piece. There are many things that go into it. So, starting with your money mindset, like, really working on so maybe limiting beliefs you have, blocks you have around money. So talking through those things, working through those. Then, of course, setting goals. Because I think what really fuels high impact action is having goals that you're working towards. Excuse me. And then from there, it's the spending plan like that. And I would say, like, I really budgeted my way to millionaire. Like, the budget, I would say, really made me a millionaire, because having that insight into my money, for one, just let me know what I was actually doing with the money, so then I could kind of get control around that. And then it also helped me to like shape some of my behavior so that I could have that surplus to do things with, like eliminate debt and build my emergency fund and invest. So that spending plan is like the key to everything. So we work on, developing their spending plan. You look at their debt and looking at debt elimination, because, your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. So your debt is your liability. So, you don't want to build with one hand and tear down with the other. So we definitely look at, what you need to do in terms of debt elimination. And then next is having that emergency fund, the cash reserves, because, the goal is not to, accumulate credit card debt, use credit card debt. So if you don't have an emergency fund or something to fall back on, then when emergency happens, most people take that credit card out and swipe. So we want to have those cash reserves, those savings, so that you don't have to resort to credit cards and emergencies. And then also just some security, like that safety net that people like, to feel safe and secure. And then from there, we get into your wealth building, like helping you to build an investment strategy. So of course, I'm not an investment advisor. I don't actually take people's money and invest it for them. But we talk about actually whether you need it, because I didn't have one throughout my investing journey. Like I invested on my own. I would say I just got an investment advisor. I was already a millionaire when I got an investment advisor, because I just kind of wanted to. I was like, okay, I got myself as far as I could take me. Like, maybe what type of things maybe do I need to do differently? So that's why I went that route. But we talk about an investment strategy based on your goals, your lifestyle, and so I help them, figure that out, what they need to invest in.
Solid.
So.
Most definitely. One thing I want to dive into a little bit is, that investment strategy. Not this investment strategy, actually, but when people get that paycheck, what are some of the buckets that they should be thinking about putting their money into to really help themselves?
So when you say buckets, like, are you talking, what do you mean when you say buckets?
So when I always have weird ways of saying things, weird ways of saying things, but like, let's say I get a paycheck, I'm making, let's say, $75K a year, and I get a paycheck for about like $5,000 a month, right? Or I guess 3,500 bi-weekly. What would be the best ways of busting that down, to make the most of it for myself? So should I be like, all right, pay myself first and do like 30% into stocks, 20% into an emergency fund? How do you break that check down for the everyday person right now?
So I don't really go by percentages too much. I don't know. Some people may have that philosophy. I really do everything based on goals, like what goals you're working. So there are just certain things that I feel like for your financial foundation you should have. So we'll look at if you need to eliminate debt, like we'll focus on, how much your debt is, how much you can put towards it each month. If you do need to build up some cash reserves and emergency fund, how much of an emergency fund you'll need, and then how much monthly you'll be putting towards it. Investing, like where are you in terms of your retirement goals? Like, are you on track? Like, how much, extra do you need to maybe put at it? So, it's really driven. And then do you have any other goals? Do you have like maybe a house you're saving up for, anything you're doing? Like, just how much of your money, we need to allocate to your goals. But in terms of like, a rough percentage of investing for retirement or something, ideally if you can invest 15% or so, but it's really going to depend on your specific situation, just everything that goes around it. Because I do believe that personal finance is personal. There are some common things that, a lot of people can do, but I think we need to take into account the nuances of people's situations so that it's something that works for them. It's something that they'll want to stick with. They don't feel like oppressed or anything about the plan they're working.
Yeah, that's so true. Personal finance is almost like fitness. Like everybody's body is different, so you have to work out accordingly. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. Because what if some person's sick, right? You're gonna have to have a different financial habit than someone that's not, for instance.
Yeah, and then depending on what's going on in your life, like if you're about to have a baby, have a family, there's certain things you have to, plan around. And so yeah, I just believe, you have to plan for the things that are going to happen in your life and be prepared for them.
Most definitely.
You mentioned something interesting, which was budgeting, right? Like you said, like the budget was one of the things that was the core pillars of like what made you successful. Mm-hmm. How did you formulate the discipline to stick to your budget over a sustained period of time?
So that was like a night and day thing for me. So I early on in my career, I had a friend, a mentor at work, and he was telling me that I needed to budget. And at the time I wasn't. And he was like, you should look into budgeting your money. And I'm like, okay. So he wanted to sit me down and teach me how to budget. But like he wanted me to like create this budget and then like this quote unquote perfect budget and then live every month of my life by that budget. And like that just did not appeal to me whatsoever. Like I didn't even like adopt it. I didn't even do it. And so what helped me to stick with budgeting is that, or, creating a spending plan, whatever you want to call it. I know a lot of people don't like the word budget, but what really helped me to be able to stick with it was that I approached it whereas I'm planning for the month to come. So before the month starts, I plan for that month. I look at what's going on in my life that month and I plan for it. And then when the next month comes, that's a different month of my life. And I plan for that month of my life. So the fact that my budget is flexible, like it's geared towards whatever's going on in my life that month, and I get to plan for it, like that's what really made me stick with it. So I was like, oh, okay, it's not this rigid thing that like I have to squeeze and fit my life into. Like it's flexible. Like it just depends on what's going on with my life that month. And I will tell you, like I went from hating budgeting and like I'm not going to do this to once I approach it from that method, like I've been budgeting since I told you I started my transformation 2007. So here we are, 2021. I've budgeted every single month of my life since then. Like my budget is like my best friend. Like I love it. Like so,
it's just it's a habitual thing that you just roll out of bed. You don't even think about the budget anymore. It's just like a part of you now.
Yeah, and also probably because I love personal finance. I love numbers. I love crunching numbers. So that type of thing excites me anyway. And I was selling this to someone and they was like, that makes sense because I know people say like when you're stressed and things like that, like organizing helps people. And so I was like, budgeting is a stress reliever for me. And someone was like, that makes sense because it's kind of like you're organizing your money. Like you're kind of playing around and planning things with your money. But yeah, I would say that it's, I think to answer your question, it definitely, is a big thing for me now.
Big thing, oh, for sure.
Most definitely. So now, one of the main things that you said contributed to you becoming a millionaire was your stock investments. Can you talk about that?
So for me, I am a long-term investor. So I primarily, early on, invested in like, mutual funds through my corporate retirement plan. And then, with time, I began to invest in like index funds. I started to invest as well, like outside of work in more recent years because, and in doing that, that's in a taxable investment account. So that's, an after-tax thing to after-tax investing. And that was driven by some of my goals changing. Like there are things that I wanted to invest and save money for that I'm going to need ahead of retirement. I'm going to need outside of retirement because, of course, anything in your retirement investment you can't touch until you reach that age of 59 and a half or whatever. So, and are you guys familiar with the FIRE movement?
Yes, financially independent, retire early.
Yeah. So, of course, a lot of people, I don't consider myself in the FIRE movement, even though I am on track for early retirement, but it wasn't intentional. It's just because of how I've invested. I will be able to retire early. But
it was a nice little flex.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right.
Just saying.
I'll take it. What I would tell you is that, like, quite honestly, this wasn't something, even becoming a millionaire, it wasn't something that I was striving for. Like, I knew I wanted to build wealth and, not have to struggle with money. So, of course, if you think about the milestones, becoming a millionaire would be part of that. But it wasn't something that I was focused on. So I learned that I was a millionaire from someone when I started to look at let me see if I want to work with a financial advisor. They crunched my numbers and told me. I didn't even know because it wasn't something that I was necessarily focused on or hyper focused on. But it's just a matter of doing smart things with money over time, being diligent, being consistent, being disciplined. It will pay off. made me become a millionaire. It allowed me to retire early. It put me on track to retire early. And these were not things that I was aiming for, but it's just a byproduct of, doing the work and doing the right things with money. So that's why I'm really passionate about like teaching people like great financial management principles.
When you went to the financial advisor, out of curiosity, like what asset allocation really made the most out of your assets that contributed to you being a millionaire?
So my stock, my portfolio basically is pretty much like my stocks and my real estate, my home, so my real estate. And at the time, I want to say maybe the split was like 70-30 or maybe something like that. So maybe 70% of it was my house, or maybe 60-40, I think. 60% of it was my home, and then 40% of it was my stock portfolio. And then it's kind of like changed over time. So now it's kind of flipped, and like it's mostly my stock portfolio now, and my home is like, so maybe 60% of it is my stock portfolio, 40% of it is my home. And I actually reached a milestone in 2020, like at the very end of 2020. So, my net worth, like I said, was comprised of my home and my real estate. My home and my stocks. But, so those together made me, a millionaire. But then I hit in 2020 where my stock alone had hit $1 million. So, I'm a millionaire, like, with that alone, and then the house, on top of that. So yeah, those were like my big asset classes.
And yeah, we gotta dig deeper. Yeah.
Say it again. I didn't hear you.
Deeper into these stock talks, because you just said something about like how you were working, and you were just doing it outside of work. So like, what were you doing outside of work? What was some of the main stocks you were investing in? Was it ETFs? Was it like S&P 500?
Yeah.
Oh no. So yeah. So just recently, I started to invest in the stock market, in stock outside of my retirement plan. So I would say in the past maybe 3 to 4 years actually, and it's just investing in a taxable investment account. And that's why I brought up FIRE, because for people that, want to retire early, or just, if you have other goals that you want to invest to save for. So for people that retire early, like, of course, if they're retiring early, they're not going to be able to tap into that 401k or whatever, their retirement plans. So they have to have money to, live off of once they retire. So that's what they use taxable investments accounts for. They invest there, and then once they hit 40 or whatever age they, their FI number, their financial independence number, then they pull from that taxable investment account in order to live. And for me, so yeah, it was just to kind of, save, because like I said, I could retire early. So to be prepared for that, so that I have that option. It was like, okay, you've done well with your retirement investing, like let's pull back some there, and then, increase your investments on that side, so that, you can have that option. And then with that, I was just investing in index funds.
Backtracking that a little bit, April. So if we're to look at like the regular average Joe, right, who's working like a 9-to-5 job, they are, they have a family, they have kids, and like they got to think about the kids, but they're striving to become a millionaire, and they want to get into stocks, especially like, how crazy stocks are right now, especially with retail investors, with apps such as Acorns in the States. Here we have like Wealthsimple. You guys have Robinhood, and a lot of people are like, messing around with TD Ameritrade on both countries. What is like your strategy on educating yourself on learning more about stocks? Because one of the biggest risks you can take is making a risky investment that you don't know about by just following the mob. Like, they call it like mob psychology, like you're following along with, and we've seen it with like AMC, GME. How do you stay on track by educating yourself on like what's going on in the market, what companies, like reading the fundamentals of these companies to make like solid investments? And if and that's the first question, if it's index funds and etc., how do you read these charts? Like people, like when they look at them, they're so confused. But what is your way of like educating and learning more about these things before you actually invest in them?
So I don't do single stock investing. So yeah, I don't track, individual companies to figure out like which company to invest in and all that. Like I said, I do index fund investing. So I invest in a fund of things, and these companies that you've named, they'll all be within certain funds. So just diversify there, like across different types of classes and large international things like that. Just have a good mixture of the types of index funds you invest in, and then of course is somewhat tailored towards your needs, your age, and all that. If you can be more or less risky, more or less aggressive, and because I mean, with single stock, like everyone has their own preference, but for me, like I don't try to beat the market. I don't try to time the market, because I find a lot of times like people, you're not successful at it. Like you really aren't. Most people are not successful at it. So I just try to pace the market, go along with the market. The stock market does well on its own, and I just pace with the market. So I'm not trading and jumping in and out of stocks trying to time the market and beat it, because
Sure.
over time it just really doesn't work for most people.
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard beating the market. Like even they actually did I read something like in a finance book, like ETFs, index funds, historically, like they outperform like singular investment strategies by just going for the stock portfolios. Like you always end up crashing and burning. But they say even if you just take like an average, if you just like go the stock market, if you go like to the S&P and just pick out stocks and you just regularly invest in them, you might hit like an 8% average return, but it's not guaranteed. But index funds, ETFs, you are for sure going to like slightly beat the market, but you will outperform the market in the long haul.
Right.
In the index fund, right? Because a lot of people don't know what index funds are, and what are the things to look for when investing in an index fund that will tell you that this is something that you should invest in. I just want you to give like the fundamentals of educating our audience on what index funds are and how you can make them successful. So when they go look at an index funds, what should they look for to know this is where they should put their money at?
So like I don't like particular index funds. I don't like necessarily because I pretty much like to I guess invest by like a strategy. So like if you're looking at your age, or if you're looking at a certain thing you're interested in, then there's a group of funds together that you can invest in for that. So I don't necessarily look at a particular fund. I don't like handpick them. And I think similar to like what you can do in your 401k, like if you do a what do they call it in there? Target, like a target date fund. Like if you have like a date you're aiming for, like those tend to be pretty successful. And I think for the average person, I mean the common person that I'm working with, that I'm teaching, that we're not, like I said, I'm not an investment advisor. Like we're not trying to be investment beat the market and all the type of things. Like I think you can safely, because that's what I did, and like that's why I was saying I didn't have an investment advisor like throughout the whole time I was building wealth. I just did target date funds within my my retirement plan. So just kind of using my age, like those things are successful. Like you don't really have to reinvent the wheel and do like a whole lot of extra stuff. Like, all the things that are quote unquote sexy, like do what works, do what will work over time. And I have a friend, like I'm trying to think what year this was, but like when Amazon was just kind of starting to get popular, not of course what it is right now, but he had bought some stock in Amazon and, it increased, and he thought, oh, this is great. And he sold it. And like, of course, now he's like kicking himself in the, whatever, because it's like, how much more has Amazon increased and gone up? So like, you just can't really like time and these things. Like it's best that you have Amazon inside of a fund, and you'll get the benefits of it, along with everything else that's in that fund.
Yeah, that's so true. Do you use any apps to control what you invest in stocks and to control your budgets?
No, I don't use any apps for like none of the Robinhoods or anything for investing. I just invest straight up. Like I like Vanguard, so you can just invest directly with them. In terms of budgeting, I don't either. I'm old fashioned when it comes to my budget. So like I like a spreadsheet. So I have a spreadsheet that I've been using since. I did.
Spreadsheets.
I absolutely did.
We're like Mint. We were hoping to hear like Mint or something like that, But
Nope.
Spreadsheet. Like
Nope.
I find those so hard. Like to go back and remember like a spreadsheet. It's not intuitive like other tech platforms that exist.
So there's Mint. I tried Mint. Well, I didn't try for budgeting. I just tried it to kind of pull everything together. I could not get Mint set up properly. I just haven't gone back to try again. But in terms of a budgeting software, I did try Every Dollar. I've heard great things about Y&B. You need a budget. So I'm not against them. I just know what I like. And like, so I tried Every Dollar budgeting tool, and it was fine, but I was like, I just really like the control. I really like how I could customize my spreadsheet. And like, I don't know, I think I probably was so used to it. I was just like, nah, I just rather hop into my spreadsheet and just do the thing. But I think that it's important. Like I like budgeting tools. I think they're great, especially like you need a budget. Like I said, I've heard great things about that. So, but I think I do recommend like getting like an intimate relationship with your money, like getting more hands-on with your money. Like, don't just totally leave it to, something else to manage it. I think you should kind of, at least have some of that relationship with your money first. And then if you want to go automate it for ease, that's great. But, for me, I just, every couple of weeks, I go in and reconcile, like, I set it up before the month starts, and then I'll go back, every week or a week and a half, not every week, but probably every 2 weeks or so, and reconcile. Like, it's really not that difficult, especially once it's a practice, it's a habit. Like, you kind of doing it month to month. Like, things aren't going to fluctuate too much. So I don't know. I don't find it difficult, and I just love how specific and I can get with it.
Oh, and you're muted. So you you can call yourself Kelly Rowland, a spreadsheet queen.
Oh, right. That song. That's right. I'll take it.
For sure. So, all right. So you don't use.
So do you guys use budgeting software, or do you budget?
Mint.
Yeah.
Mint. I use Mint.
Okay.
As well, I also have the TD app for monitoring my budget. So I get like a ping every time I spend something. My phone will go off every time.
The My Spend app, right?
No, that's great. I would say whatever works for people. I even had someone I work with that she was like, I prefer pen and paper. Like, excuse me, she just wanted to write it down, right? Now I don't know how you can really account for that too well, but before we started working together, she was just writing things out. She's not the only one. I had someone else. I didn't work with her, but like communicating with her in DMs, she told me that she liked like pen and paper.
Okay. I see that like when you're just like doing something like practical, like, all right, today I'm doing like a calculation, but on like an ongoing basis to just use pen and paper, like that stuff to monitor. So you have like a stacks of paper after the whole year of this like bare paper budgeting and stuff like that. That's intense. She got folders.
Yeah. I don't know how that works, but yeah. Awesome. So to each their own. As long as you're paying attention to your money, that's the main thing.
Is it harder managing taxes with such a majority of your income coming from stocks?
No, because it's I don't have anything that I'm doing tax related with that right now, because I'm not withdrawing from it or anything. So of course once I get to the point where I'm actually doing that, we'll see what the taxes look like. But there's nothing I have to do related to taxes specific to that right now.
And like with your $1 million like portfolio, do you get dividends from like your portfolio, and do you use that income from dividends if you do to like live and spend and etc.?
Oh no, I don't get anything from it right now. So even with my non-retirement investments, like no, I'm not getting anything from it right now.
Got you. As we work towards wrapping up, What actionable steps can you leave with our audience to help them build wealth?
Excuse me. So I would say that definitely having a spending plan, like having that insight into your money on a monthly basis, like it really is a game changer. So you need to be knowledgeable of what you're doing with your money. You need to manage what you're doing with your money. Also, I would say debt elimination. As I mentioned, your net worth building wealth. I mean, part of it is your debt. So, making sure you aren't exorbiting your debt, and if you have debt that you can pay off, it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I would say your debt elimination, and then investing, of course. I'm big on investing. Everyone has their own way, but I believe the stock market is an awesome wealth building tool. So investing, as they say, often and early and often. Yeah, no matter what, even if you feel like $25, whatever it is, like definitely start doing it. Let that build over time. Get that trust factor, because I think some people are a little afraid of the stock market. They don't trust it. They think it's a gamble or risk, but I think that's because they're watching what's on TV with the all of the single stocks and everything. But that's not the only way you have to do it. Like there's a more simple way, but that just builds you wealth over
Index
time.
funds, mutual funds, companies you already know. Most definitely.
A great strategy too I heard is like I think I learned from DJ Envy, like in a Breakfast Club interview, when he was talking about his kids. He was like, hey, like whenever you think of a product you're using, and ask yourself, hey, can I invest in that? Oh, you're using your iPhone? Oh, let me go look at the Apple stock. Oh, you're gonna wear Nike shoes? Hey, buy the shoes, but also go buy some Nike stock. Oh,
Yeah.
you're going to Airbnb? Why not like make money from your Airbnb, but also invest in the stock, right? So this is like how he's teaching his children to think about building money. He's like, if you're going to spend that money, look if that company can pay you back,
Yep.
and then go study the company, and then you can
Get
also
some equity.
contribute. Get some equity, right?
Yeah, and there's a app. I can't think of the name of it right now, but like even with children, like it's the one that lets you give gift cards. Like how we normally would give gift cards as gifts to kids or something. Like instead of giving them like just gift cards to Target or something, you can give them like little gift card, like shares of something. There's like a gift card type service or app for that. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, that's another thing I heard of.
Interesting. I know Acorn is the one that rounds up your money and invests that, but I don't think that's what you're referring to. And for us, we have Milo. Milo does the same thing in Canada. If anyone's looking for that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting. I'll look into that. That could be a good gift for all my cousins with new babies and stuff. Most definitely. Awesome.
Get them some wealth.
No? Be a good uncle.
Quick question. Be a good uncle, bro. Book, you said David Ramsey earlier on, right? But if you were to like choose a book right now to recommend to our audience to read, because from your story, it seems like everything is all mindset driven to building wealth. It first starts with your mental and how you approach your finances. With that in mind, what is that one book that you can say that first comes to mind? Wealth building. What would you say, April?
One of my favorites is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi.
Yes.
Have you guys read that?
I heard about that too.
Yeah, I really like that book. So that's a great one. And then in terms of mindset, You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. Like she helped me with mindset, not necessarily from like what we were talking about today, but like more so for me, like just that next thing, like not investing in stock market or anything, but investing in yourself, like that personal development, just kind of making those investments in yourself to get to your next level. That really helped me with, that type of mindset thing. But just in terms of like good personal finance book, I really like I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Definitely.
Yeah, my friends also recommended me that book too, because I read a lot of different books, but they're like, if you really want to make money work for you, read this book. And I can also like get behind you on that. It's an amazing, amazing book. It's so practical and will just set you in the right path.
Big gems.
Yeah, definitely.
Big gems. That wraps up the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. The hustle is what you can't control. So control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
And I'm April.
And
Yes,
that's
yes.
over everything. Peace, y'all.
Boom.
Thank you so much for listening. The conversation continues on our Instagram at 247hustler. We post very frequently. And be sure to check out our merch at hustleovereverything.co. We have some amazing sweaters, hats, mugs, and a lot more. Lastly, our Proud to Pay program is linked in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Talk to you next Monday. Peace.